I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist, a licensed marriage and family therapist, speaker, and an author. I would like to tell you about a seminar, The Power of Two, that I'm doing with Behnam Marchandet, which is a wonderful coach and a relationship and a business coach. This seminar is about you in your relationship, the most important aspect of your life, your intimate relationship. In this seminar, you will get how you have been behaving, how you have been thinking, your belief system, and your behaviors within your intimate relationship that has created the result that you have gotten right now. And will give you a lot of tools, amazing keys in how to create a successful relationship and how to sustain and maintain it. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back. We're talking to Luis Moro, a professional parent. And we talked about the distinction of 5 A's. And now let's go to self-defining.
Okay, fully functioning, self-determining.
Self-determining.
Self-determining. Which self-defining?
I come up with words for him.
Shakespeare. The Shakespeare of psychology, of therapy. Well, when you there's fully functioning, of course, is being responsible, and then self-determining brings you towards a distinction that's called what hooks you is you. See, at that point, you could really start to get that no one, and this is going to be a big leap maybe for the audience, okay? But no one ever really gets left. You know, people say, well, you left me that way, well, you did this to me. If you really get into, I'm going to say physics or maybe education and more conscious or work with a professional, you will really distinguish that there's things that happen and then we create wherever we create emotionally, physically. And now, by the way, this is short of violence. I always like to separate the violence conversation.
Of course.
Because that's a different conversation, different show, different topic, different, legal agreements.
Sure.
So anyway, the disclaimer would have to be really long. So when you see yourself that you're self-determining is when you could actually start catching yourself and being responsible for that behavior. So I shared a little bit about the 5 A's. I told you I was going to give you an example about Kylie, my 8-year-old daughter, and I'm going to show how it shows up self-determining.
Yes.
So a friend of ours gave us some really awesome clothes. Again, my daughters were now 8 and 10. She had daughters that were older. It was like hand-me-downs, take these beautiful clothes. The kids grow out of it. Share clothes. Okay, great. So my 8-year-old got to go through all the clothes first, with my 10-year-old not being around, Kylie. Went through everything. Picked what she wanted, left the rest for the 10-year-old. So I said to Kylie later on, it's really great, London already picked out the clothes, and you get to have whatever's left. Kylie goes, no, what do you mean? I got to go through everything, and it's my clothes. And I go, Kylie, the clothes that she took is not going to fit you anyway.
Right. And
the stuff that you got is awesome. You should really check it out. I mean, these people were from like Palos Verdes. The clothes was good. Shout out to Palos Verdes. Anyway, so fast forward, she gets panicking about it. But on her own, she stopped and she goes, you know what? I just noticed something. When you said, I get what's left, I made that mean that I get all the bad clothes, the stuff that's no good, whatever's left. So I understood the words, whatever's left, to mean the garbage.
Oh, okay.
And I said, wow, now that's profound. Now this happened within a minute.
Yeah.
So talk about self-determining in a minute.
Right.
What was potentially a big fight, a big argument, a big explosion for who knows how long, for the rest of her life maybe.
Right.
She really got that. She took a meaning to a word that she made up.
Right.
Because that's not what I meant. Now, the best part was she says to me, you know, Daddy, I just made a difference for a lot of people.
Oh, how cute.
And I said, okay, well, how did you do that? And she goes, because I know you're not going to be responsible and not use those words that way, because other people might think that you mean the leftovers, the stuff that's no good.
Oh, wow.
I said, you know what?
She's teaching you very well.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that.
Absolutely.
I can't argue with that. So that's the part of being fully functioning, self-determining, where you catch yourself and how you react to circumstances and things without really checking into what you're thinking about it, your inner voice, again, what your show's about, what you're bringing to the conversation that's not even happening.
What's beautiful, I think, though, is the space that you have created so that your children can talk to you in that way, so that your children can really create this defining moments in and defining the voices and contents within their system to even be able to say it. So there takes a whole way of clarity that is consistently being experienced and exercised within a communication. Now, I know that you have 10 distinctions for being a professional parent. And the first one is character. So tell me a little bit about character and what you mean by that.
Well, the quick version would be that, character is an interesting thing because, this whole, remember the whole big thing in the media for a long time, the 99% against the 1%?
Yes.
All that stuff, and people with money and people with no money, the rich against the poor, this whole media frenzy and public frenzy. Though there's validity here and there, I am not the wealthiest person on the planet. I always tell people that my goal is to be independently wealthy, and I'm halfway there. I'm independently broke. I did it all by myself. And I live in Montecito, where it's not the 1%, it's the 1% of 1%. It's like the Oprah Winfrey's of the world, people who have really been successful. And I've gotten, they're friends, and my kids go to school together with them. But I also come, I'm Cuban, I'm an immigrant. I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up then in Jersey and in New York, and so I have a flavor for that.
You've got the best of both worlds. You've experienced this and the other.
Yeah, and proud of it, right?
Yes.
So when you look at that, you realize that character has nothing to do with money.
Right.
Zero. When I was literally homeless with my two girls, it was like, it's one thing, I don't have a place to live one day, 2 days. By day 9, 10, you're like, okay, this is serious.
Right.
Okay, school starting, it's like 3, it's not a joke, But what I noticed was, I would have my girls do sleepovers with certain friends. I would do work overnight at a coffee shop, and you'd see the person who was homeless, and you see the person who was homeless, and you realize this guy was homeless, but he was just going through his steps. This guy was homeless, and he was a get-over.
Right.
There's character and no character. Then you go to the other side. You see these people that I've met that are, wealth is not an issue. Money is not, rich. It's not even, it's like beyond wealth. And they're sitting at at a different coffee shop, and the guy's talking about immigrants, they're talking about blacks, Muslims, just this disgusting conversation about humanity. And like, you have it all.
Right.
What are you talking about? And then you have the other person who has it all, and they're giving, and they're making a difference, and they have associations, and they're differences around the world, and from, all kinds of, from autism to special needs to contributing to just awesome people. Character doesn't cost money, and character is always waiting for you. If you want character, you could be in prison and start taking on character. You could be in the worst circumstances and take on character. You could be in the best circumstances and expand your character. But at the end of the day, character, and there's different definitions, but for me, the foundation of character is making a difference. If you're making a difference, you're practicing character.
Now, the second distinction you said is love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And talking about more of, you couldn't not love yourself and then claim that you can love anybody else, whether they're your children or anybody else in the world.
It's impossible. I'll never deny my love for you, is how I say it. And people say, oh, you love me. No, you don't understand. I love people.
Right.
I'll never deny my experience of love for you, for that tree, for that person, for, at the time, my ex and I, when we split up, it was a tumultuous time, and that's one of the things I said back then. I was like, I'm never going to deny my love for you. And the mother, as the mother of my kids, I'm never going to deny it. And about 2 years later, she came back to me. She goes, I was so mad at you and angry for 2 years. I couldn't understand what you meant, but I got it. You're always going to experience love no matter what I did. And at the end of the day, the experience of love is, the endorphins is like a drug. I don't know if you're going to drug yourself in love. Right. And whether it's a tree, whether it's a song, the experience of love is here. It's not out there. So why would I deny it?
And it's free, and the hallucinations are awesome.
And it doesn't cost anything, and you could, love yourself.
And it's a life-sustaining one. It doesn't destroy you.
Yeah,
so it's a good drug.
Yeah. So the benchmark, I'll never deny my love for you. Like, you should never deny your experience of love for anybody, no matter what they do.
Yeah. Different way of integrity.
Oh, we have different integrities. Yeah, that was awesome. I loved when that came up as a distinction. By the way, all these distinctions, a lot of them evolved after I made that statement with my ex. I'm never going to deny my love for you, and then I wanted to hate her, so I kept on distinguishing everything between me loving her that was in the way. Right. So I kept on distinguishing, and the integrity one was really great Because one day I was like, I love you. I'm so glad that I love you, and I don't want to be with you, but I love you. And the biggest one was when I really got there, we just have different integrities. Just, what do you mean? Well, your version of integrity would take certain actions that I wouldn't do, and my version of integrity has me a single guy raising 2 girls full time. I mean, it's just, that should say enough. I don't want.
Let's define integrity itself for our audience.
That's the beauty of it. We all have different integrity. Some people work in the world of keeping your word, and if you keep your word and honor your word, there's a whole methodology out there. I could go from landmark education to there's a lot of places that there's a methodology for integrity. You go to some religions, and there's moral about integrity. Integrity is diverse, and you could Google the word integrity, and you will find definitions of integrity. What I distinguish in the business world, which this is not a business show, but is that integrity is almost irrelevant if the team is aligned on the goal. So you have to have a goal, and then there's certain rules and education and integrity for that goal. But my integrity for that goal has nothing to do with the integrity of my personal life. Now, I could collapse it, I could bring it in, I could expand, but if you really separate it, you realize that we could all produce results and have different integrities, as long as our commitment is to the same goal. Now, if your integrity takes you away from that goal, then you can't be on this team. You got to go on another team.
Right.
So it's separating the world. Like, people get really mad. Well, he has no integrity and he's so successful. Well, because he's doing the work in that area that he's successful at.
Right.
Don't worry about it. You're collapsing your personal integrity on keeping your word to this guy who's producing results. You got to separate them, or else you're going to go nuts. Now, how do you do that? You realize that we all have different educations. Mm-hmm. I can't come after you for my education. You can't come after me for my education unless we have the same goals and we're committed to that, and we both require an education that gets us to that. Again, it's uncollapsing this whole thing that people come into it like everybody should think like I think, know what I know, do how I know, or else it's not going to work.
So different education was the 4th one. Now we're going to the 5th one.
Okay.
And you can find all of those on the book, A Professional Parent. You can go to aprofessionalparent.com and get that book. And you see his 2 little girls on the cover. They're gorgeous. No God judging. That's the 5th one. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, the word judging, you hear a lot of people say, well, don't judge me. Okay, look, if you can't be judged, you're functioning at a 3-year-old. Of course you're going to get judged. That's why we have juries. That's why you have tasks. That's why people go to races, compete. Being judged is part of being a functioning person. If you're going to be a scientist, you create work and then you put it out to your peers so they judge it. I wrote this book, started out as a manuscript, got it out to 10 different therapists, psychologists, consultants from France to New York. I mean, a diverse group of people. They all came back saying, awesome, there's a methodology here, break it down. I put my work out there to be judged and evaluated.
Yes.
If you're a person who wants to walk around life saying, don't judge me, then you're pretty much asking to be small. I mean, and then you wonder why things ain't working, because you don't want to be judged out in the world. So when I created that distinction, I looked at that you really can't say judging to certain people. They can't handle it. So then I break it up for them. I go, you know what? It's not my job to God you. You have the word judge collapse with God. Like then Judgment Day, religion, the day that, when you die, something's going to happen or
that
not.
means my judgment to you is the final judgment.
Like if I'm the final judgment, right. Exact, bingo. And it's collapsed. And when you separate judging from religion, you realize that, fully functioning, self-determining people actually want to get judged. I welcome judgment. I would welcome people making comments because that's how it expands. That's how it gets better.
There's people's opinion, and I would be interested in knowing what people's opinion about me is, and I can take them and correct myself and figure out, how I can utilize it to the best of my capability and for the betterment of my life. Or if that judgment is not something that I can use for, then I thank them and move on with it.
Yeah, and I always know it's something which is a later distinction. When something hooks me, odds are they're right, and I just got to work something through. That doesn't mean that they're right, and all of a sudden now I'm succumbing to them or submitting to them, or you're right, I'm going to do whatever you say. It just means that I'm going to grow.
Right.
And I'm just going to keep on expanding and laughing. And I always look for find the funny, because usually when you find the funny, you got, okay, I got it. The lock is open,
The final judgment is not there yet.
Yeah.
The 6th one. It's a combination of language. Say more about that.
Combinations of language are, I could say, do something one way today.
Yes.
And if I say the same thing to you tomorrow, it won't work. Like work today didn't work tomorrow, so we have to find another way of saying it, and another way of saying it. And you keep on expanding the combinations. Like, 44, 56, 22 would be a combination to open a lock. Well, to get your freedom and your self-expression, sometimes it takes I love you, you know, saying that. Or another one, there was someone I was speaking to once, and they had a little stuck around the thing with men, right? And sometimes all that person needed was to hear an apology. Didn't matter who it came from, because the apology released them from this combination of language that they never got an apology from some idiot in the past. But you get the apology, first of all, you could create the apology yourself. If you're not there yet, you could have somebody actually apologize to you on the behalf of someone else.
He's talking about me, by the way.
No,
I just want to tell you. I wanted no, because you just reminded me of what a beautiful conversation we had. Well, we were at lunch with this group that we all were taking a seminar, and we were dealing with some of the an exercise in the seminar, and I was talking about a place I was hooked. I mean, all these years of therapy, I've been a therapist for almost 25 years, and I've been in therapy for almost 20 years. So I was sharing with you about there are still areas that I get hooked.
Yeah, they're locked. Your language locked.
The language lock, yes.
It's just locked.
And I was going and being, you know, the victim that I was at that point of going over some of these places that still in my heart I hadn't forgiven, or I would get very vulnerable and shaky. And then I was explaining to him, and he was working and talking with me. And then at one point, suddenly, you turned around to me, and it's almost like, as like his brain was working with me, his eyes went like a light bulb, and he got the lock combination. And with nothing to presuppose what we were talking about, suddenly he sat in front of me and goes like this and says, I want to apologize to you from the bottom of my heart from whomever has harmed you in the past. And to me it was like, whoa, my experience, and this was, I think, the first time I had ever met you. We were there. So it wasn't about him at all, but that sincere and, you know, from the heart place of him experiencing what I was going through and knowing that somewhere deep inside I needed that. And he just like came out and gave that offering. And my experience inside was amazing. It was like this little girl who at that time needed, like, you know, whenever it was that I was having that issue, I don't want to bore you with all the detailed stuff, but the little girl who really needed for that time to be taken care of, and for somebody to take responsibility of my emotion, not necessarily the actions, but the emotion. So absolutely, when you say, like, when we really listen from our heart and find that what is it that the person really needs, and then give it to them in that language. And when we do that with our children, it's amazing because they really get to feel heard and seen and loved and accepted by their parents, and then it forces from there then to move on to the rest of the world. Yeah, so thank you.
No, and you're welcome, and thank you for bringing it up that way. The thing that, you know, some people say, well, wait until your kids become teenagers and then talk to me. And I say, you know what, who knows? I know it's a new chapter, and, you know, I'm always creating stuff. But I could pretty much assert this, that all of us, me, you, children, everybody, life when it's born, we want to be seen, heard, and known. So I make it my business to see, hear, and know my daughters. Like, I am there, and what does that look like? Well, that means that they actually do give me coaching. I actually do have them hold me to my word. I actually do things, say things, and then if I don't do it, they actually come back and call me on it, and I either clean it up or do it or not. See, they're already living life, like I was saying before. They're there to teach us to live life. Life is going to go. It's going to come and go. So live it to the fullest, because that's all they're doing. They're living, and our job is just to give them the tools how to live life effectively. But if we both learn from each other, when they turn 13, 14, 15, 16, and some parents say, well, they just want to leave the house. I go, well, I'd want to leave the house too if you've been not listening or taking any contributions from this person or nothing. Why would they even listen to you if you haven't heard one thing they said for 13 years? So like that, it's that combination.
So the 9th one was the answer to life, and then we're going to go to the 10th and the completion of that, which is I never get left.
Yeah, we kind of touched that before. I never get left is I mean, it's a very, very profound distinction. It was actually, I actually got that distinction from, it's the only distinction in the book that I got from another guy, a guy by the name of Maurice Cohen. And he was doing some coaching call with me, and we hung up the phone, whatever the reason, and I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was nasty. So I picked up the phone back and I said, Mo, I want to apologize because I was talking to you and I felt like I was nasty to you and I don't want to leave you that way. And he goes, and we had already a profound background. He goes, Lou, I never get left. I got to go. Bye, click. And I just started cracking up because, God, he's so right. It's so profound. And then I just, throughout the years, evolved and practiced it and got stronger at it. But at the end of the day, nobody's leaving anybody. Right. Again, short of violence. I always like to keep the violence topic going.
So 10 distinctions that are part of this amazing book. So I want you guys to go to the website, aprofessionalparent.com, get the book. And I know that, Luis, you've turned this, and as we talked before, you had experienced this yourself. It was an individual experience. And then because of your background in coaching and the businesses and many other ways that you have gained information, that you put all of this not only into the parenting and experienced it in parenting and created results so far, but you've also taken this into the business world, yes, because that's the world that you have been creating seminars. So I want to invite you to come another time to my show and really talk to bringing these principles into the business world, because I know many of our audience, not only that they're parents, but they're business owners, and they can really take in these distinctions and how they can utilize it in their business world and the way that they manage their business and lead their businesses forward to the result.
Yeah, yeah. There's a competitive advantage to have parents in the workforce, by the way.
Absolutely.
A very big competitive advantage.
Absolutely. So thank you for coming and offering us the gift of a professional parenting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us. And until another week of this show, create a wonderful day.